Hello everyone, Richard here again. Today I'm going to have a follow-up video. I recently made a video on how to put DD-WRT on the TP-Link WR940N router. That's this router right here. And I'll put a card for that up here for everybody. But after I've got that done, people are asking me, okay, now you've got DD-WRT on this router. How do you create a dedicated VPN router using DD-WRT and this router? Well, I'm going to show you in this video how to do that. It will probably apply to other routers, but I know it will definitely work with the WR940N from TP-Link. Before we begin configuring the router, we need to figure out where your router and your network are as far as networks go, okay? So number one, when you first flash DD-WRT into any router, it's going to be set up on the 192.168.1.1 network as I show here, okay? And for the most part, that's okay. But the whole point of a VPN, dedicated VPN router is number one, security, number two, privacy, okay? So you don't want that VPN router on the same network as your home router is. So in other words, you want a network that's for everything that's connected to your home router, and you want a separate network for your VPN router so that it is isolated from the other network, therefore giving you that extra bit of privacy and the extra bit of security. The other nice thing about that too is that if your home network gets hacked by anybody, they will not have access to your VPN router, all right? And if your VPN router gets hacked by anybody, they won't have access to your home network. So it isolates the two, gives you a little bit of security between the two, okay? Now you want to do it differently and put them both on the same network, that's up to you. The third thing is that if you are on this VPN router and for some reason the VPN service goes down and it's on the same network as your home network, then you'll be able to connect to that router. You'll think you're surfing through VPN, but you're not. You'll be surfing through your home network and you won't know whether you're on VPN or not. In this case, if you set them up as two separate networks, when the VPN drops, the internet connection drops, and therefore you will no longer be able to surf. So let's say you didn't pay your bill on your VPN service. By the way, VPN service is a paid-for service, right? And you didn't pay the bill, the $3.33 a month it takes to do this. And it drops because they say, hey, you haven't paid your bill, we're canceling your account or suspending your account. If the VPN router was on the same network as the home router, you wouldn't know it. It would just route you through your home network, and you wouldn't know that you weren't connected to VPN anymore. So this is a nice way to isolate the router. Now, to find out what network you're on at home, what the network is, the network portion of what they call an IP address, which is your address on an internet protocol network, is in most cases at home, is the first 3 octets or the first 3 sets of digits, okay? So in my case, it's 192.168.0.1, right? So my router is going to be on a different network, which is going to be 192.168.1.1, okay? So this digit being different changes the network to another separate network. So if your home network is on 1, okay, then you can reverse this. You can put 0 where your VPN router is and use, and 1 would stay your home router. If that number here was 2 or 3, anything other than what that number is what should go into this digit here for your VPN router. All right. So how do you find out what your home network is? Let's go over here, right-click your network icon, open Network and Internet Sharing, and then go here to Network and Sharing Center. And then you're going to go to Change Adapter Settings. Right-click the connection that you're connected to the internet with. With me, in my case, it's not Wi-Fi. It could be, but it's not. It's Ethernet. And if yours is Wi-Fi, this will work either way. So whatever one you're connected to, right-click it, choose Status, go to Details, and in here you'll see 192. You'll see the default gateway, and the default gateway is usually your router, and that is in my case 192.168.0.1. Okay, so up to you. How you structure your network, but I strongly suggest that you don't put your dedicated VPN router on the same network as your home network. Isolate the two, okay? And take that and write it down somewhere. I put it in a notepad for myself and for everybody there to see. And so I know mine is on 0.1, and so my VPN router will be on 1.1. Fortunately for me, I didn't have to do any configuration for that, as it was defaulted to that IP address right as soon as you put the flash or the DD-WRT firmware into it. Okay. Next, I'm going to show you how to connect this router to your computer with a LAN cable. You could connect to it with Wi-Fi if you've already configured that, but I'm just going to show you how I'm physically connecting, and then we'll go from there. Oh, there's a small piece of information we need to gather prior to connecting the router, where you need to get a server IP address where we're going to connect the router to. In other words, I'm browsing with VPN through PIA. That's what you see here on the screen. And we need to get a server address from them. So I'm going to go to their network link here. And they have 3,329 VPN access points and proxy servers in 53 locations in 33 countries. So whatever country you want to look like you're browsing from when you're connected to VPN, choose that one and go from there. I'm in America, so United States, so I'm going to choose that. And I like using the Washington, D.C. Server because it's far away from where I am. I'm in Texas, this is Washington, D.C., and when I set this up, you'll see that I'm connected to something that's far away from where I'm actually am in the geographical world. So you can see that VPN is actually working for me. So I'm going to choose the Washington, D.C. Server, and what we need to do here is just highlight this US-Washington, D.C. private, basically what they call the FQDN, or the domain name, the URL. I'm going to right click on that and choose copy. And what we need is the IP address. Even if you click on this and go to their test, it doesn't show you the IP address. It just shows you the URL or FQDN, fully qualified domain name. So I'm going to show you how to get the IP address for any one of these addresses, because we need the IP address. So here, just type in CMD into your search in Windows. Go to command prompt. And here we're going to type in ping, and then just hit Control and V on your keyboard, or right click. And when you right click, it pastes into this window. Then just hit return, and we're going to be pinging that address. And the IP address is right here, 70.32.135. Okay. Now I've written that down into my notepad, so it's right here, right? Sorry, it's slightly different. 70.32.0.135. Okay, let me change that. It's actually changed from the last time I did it. So there's the IP address for that. And we're going to use that IP address to connect the VPN through the router. So now I'm going to show you how to physically connect, and then we'll go on from there. What I'm going to do is use just the patch cable. And this patch cable is a LAN cable that came with the actual router itself. And we're going to plug it in and physically connect it to my laptop. So the ports we're going to use to connect to are any of the orange ports, or the LAN ports, or Ethernet ports as they call them. And pick the one you want. It doesn't matter which one you pick, just as long as it's in the orange ports. Then the other side of the cable we're going to plug into the LAN port on this laptop. If you have a computer, choose the LAN port on the computer. Either way, you're going to physically connect to the router this way. So again, cable to the LAN ports, and on the LAN port on your computer. So now we got the router plugged in. Let's go take a look at it. I've reset mine to the factory defaults. So when we get there, okay, there we go. One thing, if your router is not on the default setting, which is 192.168.1.1, all you got to do to find out where it's at is go look at that default gateway setting again. So right click your network icon, network and sharing center, change adapter settings, and then right click whatever adapter is actually enabled or connected, which should be your router because it's the only thing connected to your computer. Then go to status, and then go to details, and then go to default gateway. 192.168.1.1 is where mine is at. Whatever yours says here, that's where the router is connected, if it's the only thing connected to your computer, like I showed you to do. So let's close that off. We know it's on 1.1, just showing you again how to get that. Then we'll just put it in here, 192.168.1.1, and I've saved this. Like I said, I've restored my default settings so that we can start fresh here. So if you haven't, then just put your username and password in here to get in as normal. And I just wanted to make sure I start from scratch for everybody. And I suggest doing that too, because any configuration that may have been saved prior will be wiped out, and then you can start fresh. So here I'm going to go to setup. Okay, well, it's going to ask me for my username and password again. So I'm going to do that. There we go. And here's where we're going to go to set all this up. Okay. First thing we need to do is set up the connection type. Now I'm going to show you two types, and I'll show you what is available. This is all that's available. PPTP and L2TP are the two types I'm going to show you. First one is point-to-point tunneling protocol. It's faster than L2TP, but less secure. L2TP is slower than PPTP, which is point-to-point tunneling protocol, but it's more secure. So you choose which one you want to go with. I'm going to show you both of them, okay? I'm going to start with L2TP. And when you do that, it changes everything. You see how now I have a whole bunch of different fields here that weren't here before. So first thing we're going to put in here is the server gateway. And that is the IP address that we got from PIA. And mine is the Washington, D.C. server, which is right there. So I'm just going to copy it and paste it in here. Use whichever one you want. You can use this one if you wish. Here you got to put in your username. I'm not going to put my username in here because it won't be blanked out and everybody can see it, and I don't want that out there on the internet. So by default, the VPN user for PIA will be a 7-digit number that they give you when you buy an account, and that starts with an X, and then then there's 7 digits afterwards. So we're going to take that here and pretend that this is a valid username. It's not. And then we're going to put in the password, and the password will be a 10-character and digit mixed string. And here's an example of it here of one. This is, again, another bogus password, but it's case sensitive. So if there's a capital J and a capital H and a lowercase d and a lowercase k in there, they need to be in the right case. They need to be uppercase if they're uppercase, lowercase if they're not. So everything is case sensitive on the password. So make sure you get that correct. Copy it. And then we're going to go over here and paste it in like so. And I mean, you can click on mask if you want to make sure you got it right. Again, this is bogus. So here under use DHCP, we're going to say no to this, okay? And then it gives you an IP address. And for most part, the IP address you get here, it may be right or it may not. What matters is that it's on your home network's IP range. So we know that my home network is 192.168.0. Whatever number. So 211 will be fine as long as this is right. It has to be in the same range as your home network. And just to recap, see my home router is on 0.1. So that IP address has to be on 0 something. Now you can choose any number you wish, and if you know DHCP range, you can choose an IP address outside of that range, but just choose a random number. You're more than likely going to be okay. Okay, so you say WAN IP address 192.168.0. whatever. Again, on your network. The subnet mask is correct here, 255.255.255.0, and that would be correct regardless of what this number was. So this is just leave that alone. The gateway is going to be exactly what you found when you were looking for your home network. So in our case, it's 192.168.0.1. Okay? Sorry, 168.0 and 1. So that was the first number when we were identifying the network. I skipped a little bit ahead here on the DNS setting numbers just to save you the torture of having me type all these numbers in. But here's the numbers I'm using. I'm using 84.200.70.40 and 84.200.69.80. And you can see that I put these numbers into the first, second, and third DNS static IP addresses. Okay. Now, maybe wondering who are these numbers for? Well, they're for a company called DNS.WATCH. It's a uncensored, tracked DNS server. Basically, it's an anonymous DNS server, and it's a free service, and it's available on the net, and you can use these numbers. Now, there's other servers like this, like Cloudflare and various others. You choose the one you want. I use DNS.WATCH. That's these guys right here. They're based in Germany, and they promise anonymity using their servers. So I've been using them without any issue at all, and I've been happy with the performance and service. Now, you can use others if you wish, but that's who I'm using. So those numbers again, and everything in my notepad here, I'm going to put in the video description below, as well as hardware links and so on to all this stuff, including DNS.WATCH and so on. You know, and private internet access. So yes, you can go with default settings like Google's, but don't, you know, Google tracks everything you do. So don't use DNS servers from Google. I love Google, all that, but I don't need to be tracked when I'm on VPN. I need anonymity, and these server settings are the ones that you should use. So here's all the numbers. I'll put all this into the video description as well. And the one key factor here in this working or not is the MPPE encryption. On L2TP, it should be set to no, okay? On PPTP, it should be set to yes, but I'll show you that in a second. Right now, we're going to save these settings, and we leave everything else alone. I'm using a connection strategy that we just keep alive, which means it stays on all the time. This is the way I like it. You set it to what you wish. Connect on demand is your other option, but all the other settings, as you can see here, these are the default settings, okay? So make sure yours is set the same way. Same with this down here. You can change the name of the router if you wish from what it was to this, or you choose. The router IP address, of course, is 1.1. We know that already. It was already set. DHCP server, you leave those alone. And if you want to change the time zone down here in the time settings, you can, but it's not required or necessary for this to work. So here we hit save, and then we go to apply. So always save the settings and then apply them. That way they'll stay there. The next setting, whether you want to do this or not, or whether you've done it or not, I'm not sure. But I've reset the router. So the next setting I'm going to do here prior to physically connecting this to our network is I'm going to hook up or set up the wireless. So I'm just going to go here to wireless tab. When you reset the router to its defaults, it sets this to the default settings. Mine has been previously set, but I set it back. So these settings are fine by default. I changed the SSID to primary router because I like that better. I don't like anything that identifies the router. This was set to WRT before, so change it to something else. So primary router doesn't say anything. It's a router, right? You can change this name to whatever you want your SSID or your wireless network name to be. So here, I'm going to, again, click Save and Apply Settings. Always save and apply. And you can fool with these settings anywhere you want, but I'm just doing this as the default, easiest way. So, and then wireless security. And this is something I don't like about the default setting on WRT is that the security mode is set to disabled. I'm sure there's a good reason for that, but basically it means your router is wide open when it's set to the default settings for Wi-Fi. So anybody could log into this router from Wi-Fi when you restore the default settings. So the first thing you should do, other than changing the password, which is automatic, is come in here and change this. But again, we're going to change this from disabled to WPA. Never use WEP ever. WPA is what you're going to use. WEP is insecure. There's no point. Then we're going to go to WPA to personal. And then we're going to choose AES over here. TKPI, I believe, has been cracked. So I'm going to hit save on this. And then, of course, it comes up with the username, with the ability to put a password in here. And then I'm going to hit apply here. And you should put a password in here, whatever you want your password to be for your wireless connection. So you'll be asked for, you'll see primary, if you set it the way I set it, you'll see primary router on your list of Wi-Fi devices over here when you open up Wi-Fi. And then it'll ask you for a password, and that's the shared key right here. So put whatever you want for a password in here and then go from that. then save it and apply it. Now I've already done that. I could hit it again, I guess. And now it's ready to go and it's on. So at this point, if I turn on the Wi-Fi, I should see primary router once it comes up again. And I'll hit save one more time, what the heck, just to be sure. And back to Wi-Fi. And you can see that there's a few networks around me, which, creates. So here it is. I'm going to wait till this weird icon on it goes away. I think it's still resetting itself. Let me check. No, it looks good. We'll try it here in a sec. Okay, there it is. Primary router connected. I've obviously been connected to it before. Let me see where it's at. I'm going to take it and I'm going to tell it to forget it. There we go. And now we're going to connect to it again. Okay, so here it is, primary router. Connect to automatically, fine. And then ask me for my password. I'll put that in. And next. And it's up to you whether you say yes or no to this. If you're on a public network, I would say no. Connected and secured. Boom, we're in. So at this point, I'm connected to this router through Wi-Fi as well. So the beauty of this is that once you disconnect it from your computer, you still have access to it through Wi-Fi. So set it up. This is the way I set it up. It's up to you. You could use a cable and hardwire to it all the time if you wanted to through one of the LAN ports on the back of the router, or not. It's up to you. So next I'm going to show you the physical setup between the VPN dedicated router and your home router, and then we'll go from there. Now that we have the router configured for VPN, it's time to test it. And in order to test it, we need to connect it to our main router. And what we're going to do is disconnect the patch cable from the laptop and from the Ethernet ports or the LAN ports on the back of that router. And we're going to connect to the internet or WAN port on this router. So like so, it's plugged into that. And now this other end of the other end of that cable is going to go into any of the LAN ports on the on your main router. So I'm assuming that I'm just pretending that this is my main router here. So the main router would go from the LAN or internet port or the blue port on the VPN router into one of the LAN ports or Ethernet ports, orange ports on your main router. Okay, like so. So then we've got two routers connected like this. This is the VPN router. That's the internet port, the blue one. And then from there into one of the LAN ports on the main router. We should have the router powered up, connected to the to our home network, and should be already on the internet, but we'll see what the status is here. We'll go from wireless to the status tab over here. And if you go to WAN, because we're connected through the WAN port, you'll see that we're already connected. Here it says connection type, L2TP, connected. It tells you all the actual connection specifications, including the IP address, which is nowhere near us, gateway, the DNS numbers we put in. And then we're going to, if you want here, you can just click on disconnect. Okay, so now it says we're disconnected, right? For some reason, it didn't take my third DNS number here. Let's go back to the setup just to make sure. Maybe it doesn't like a duplicate. I'm going to put in a third one here. Just for the third, I'm going to use Cloudflare, and you can check that out. But it's another anonymous one. And I'm going to use that and that. But again, anytime you say you change something, save it and apply. And I'll note that here in my notes that I did that. It's going to be 1.1.1.1. That should do it. And hit save. And again, I'll put the notes in the video description below for us, for everybody. And okay, so let's go back to the status again and back to WAN. And in here, bang, we're connected again. And this time I get a DNS number of 11111 at the bottom. So that's fine. And I didn't like the 88888 number because the quadruple 8 DNS number is the Google DNS number, okay? So, you know, if you see 8888 in your DNS or 8844 in your DNS, that's Google. All right, so we're set here. It's working just fine. We're connected. Let's go take a look at private internet access, make sure we're surfing okay. And there we go, back to private internet access. Let's go take a look at PIA or private internet access, see what they say. Go here. And you can see your IP address is 70.32.0.135, which is what we set for. That's actually their IP address. Your ISP is PIA. You're protected by PIA. Learn more. So we're connected. We're surfing through VPN currently. They verified that. You can verify it again at VPN Express has a few neat tests for VPN, so we'll try them. Okay, there we go. And DNS leak is the first one. Oh, it says, ooh, DNS request exposed. Well, it's exposed the number that we put in, which is DNS.WATCH's IP address, 84.200.70.40. So we're still private. That's good. If you go to the IP address checker, where it tells you where you're coming from, IP address exposed, yes, but it's exposed an IP address in Ashburn, which is outside of Washington, D.C. So again, we're protected. And WebRTC leak test, you can go here, and he says, ooh, exposed IP address. Well, this is a private IP address, no leak. They even state that. And then this again is the Washington, D.C. PIA server. So we're still protected. So we can see we're protected by VPN without any issue whatsoever. At this point, I'm going to show you the last setting, and that is how to set it to PPTP, which is the point-to-point tunneling protocol. It's pretty basic, but let's go back here. Let's hit disconnect on this, and let's go back to setup on the router. And all you need to do is change this from L2TP to PTP, and it automatically changes this to from MPPE encryption to saying no to yes. Okay, but this is the only difference between the two settings, PPTP and L2TP. Okay, so L2TP, it's no. PPTP, it's yes on this setting. Everything else stays the same. Okay, so we're going to hit save. And once it saves, I believe it's saved. Let's try that again. Okay. Apply. And then we're going to go back to our status. And WAN connection and hit connect. And I'm going to give this a second, see what happens over there. I see it blinking on the LAN port. I'm going to hit it one more time. There you go. Took a little bit. So I hit it a couple times there, and now it's connected. So at this point, if we go back to private internet access, we'll just do a refresh here. Nothing should have changed. All the settings are the same anyway. So we'll see what happens. If it lets us. There we go. So it's refreshed, same numbers, right? I'm protected, blah, blah, blah. Let's go back over here to the leak test. And we're going to go back to the IP address checker. And it says we're in Ashburn, Washington, D.C. Exactly same IP address. Just we're surfing through PPPT now, that's all. And you can see that in the map. I'm in Texas, so nowhere near Washington. So DNS leak test, we'll go here. Same thing again. We get the DNS.WATCH IP address for DNS. That's why we put it in there. Keeps us, that number is in Germany, by the way, so they don't know where I am. And back over here, RTC leak test, same thing again. My IP address, internal IP address, local, no one can sniff that out, other than they can know what it is, but they can't get to it. And then my public IP address is, again, the Washington, D.C. server. So I'm not exposed to anything as far as VPN goes. So that's how you set up L2TP and PPTP on a DD-WRT enabled router. In this case, this is the WR940N from TP-Link, but most DD-WRT routers will have these settings in them. Set them this way, physically connect your router the way I showed you, and it should work for you. That's it for my video on turning a TP-Link WR940N router into a dedicated VPN router using the DD-WRT third-party firmware. If you liked this video and it helped you out in some way, do me a huge favor. Click on the like button on the bottom right-hand corner and give me a big thumbs up. That helps my channel, it helps my video, and I greatly appreciate it. Also up here, you'll see a picture of me. That is the subscription link. If you click on that picture, you'll be subscribed to my channel. As a part of the process of subscribing to my channel, you'll see a bell icon. If you click on the bell icon in that process, you'll be notified every time I put up a new video, and then you can watch it at your own leisure. Once again, and like always, I want to thank you for your time and for watching.